Hello, welcome to the Uplifting Talk Show. And you know what? I always got something good for you, so I'm glad you tuned back in with us. Today we have a beautiful woman here. She's going to share her story. It's an amazing story, amazing testimony. But before we get to her, as always, I must acknowledge this young, handsome man to my left, none other than Apostle and Prophet Dr. Larry Hill. Welcome to the show, Apostle.
Thank you so much. It is an honor to be here.
Well, thank you. As always, you grace us with your presence, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now, today, let me tell you, there's a young lady that I'm sitting next to, and I tell you, she has told me her story, and I'm going to read her book. I haven't read it yet, but I got the lowdown, and it seems so, so good, and you've got to get this book. But before we talk about her book, we're going to talk a little bit about some other things that lead up to the incident that her book is about. Her name is Lavon Grant. Do you like to say Lavon Morris Grant, or what do you prefer to go by?
I do Lavon Morris Grant.
Lavon Morris Grant. This is her. Welcome to our show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Now, Lavon has written an awesome book. It's called Whom Shall I Fear? This book is amazing. Like I said, it's an awesome testimony of what God has done for her and saving her from a situation, but I don't want to give everything away, so we're going to let her tell us her story. So let's just talk a little bit about back in the day in your marriage, what was going on in, 1995, 96? Tell me about that.
Right. By that time, I had made my decision that something was really wrong.
Okay.
So there was a whole lot leading up to that time, but by 95, I had decided to leave my husband.
Okay.
Not because I knew anything about domestic violence,
okay,
but because I was not happy and I didn't know how to get to happy.
Okay.
And my husband didn't want to do anything like therapy or counseling or anything to that nature to help us figure out what was wrong with the marriage.
Okay, so in your marriage, there was no domestic violence or anything like that. It was just a feeling that you needed to get to something that led to happiness, and that you didn't have, correct?
And that I did not have.
Okay, so you went on a journey to try to figure that part out.
Yes.
In the midst of being in this marriage. Now, at that point, how long had you been married?
By 95, we were married 9 years.
About 9 years? Children?
9 years. We had 3 children.
Okay.
We had been together for 16, but we went to high school actually.
Wow.
Together.
Okay.
We did not date in high school, but we ran track.
Okay.
Together, so we knew each
Who
other.
was the fastest?
I was.
All right, now, see, hey. Girl power.
I was the star. I was a sprinter. He was a distance runner, so of course I was the fastest.
Okay.
So we did know each other, and by the end of my senior year, we began to date as I went through college and he went through college.
Okay.
And eventually, years later.
So you get married?
We got married. We had...
Not too happy marriage. Now, was there any type of abuse, verbal, mental, emotional, any
What
type?
I know now, Rhonda, is that it was a lot of verbal abuse. I would not have called it that then because there was no name for what was happening.
Okay.
It was a lot of verbal abuse, calling me out of my name, me calling him out of his name, back and forth. And we were in our early 20s, so, we went along like that for a minute. But it was when I was turning 30, because I don't know, something happened to me. I thought when you turn 30,
what was your thing?
That something magical, that your life was supposed to be whatever it is it was supposed to be.
It was supposed
I really
to happen
believe,
at 30.
yes, somewhere in my thinking, in my socialization, I believed that by 30, I was supposed to have everything I was supposed to have and just keep working, working to keep it.
Okay.
And that wasn't happening, and I didn't understand it, and I didn't understand what was happening in my marriage, and why living a $100,000 lifestyle, I was not happy.
Okay.
When I had all the gifts and the trips and the money and the fur coats and the cars, the 2.5 kids, I just couldn't understand why I wasn't happy.
Okay.
And didn't know how to explain that to anyone because everyone thought I had the greatest life.
But they didn't know what you were going through inwardly.
Behind closed doors.
Behind closed doors,
Once we came from church, he was a deacon, I was a deaconess, and you would call me, stupid. You would call me, I don't know how to do anything.
So both in the ministry and then all this verbal abuse going
back
from both
and
sides.
forth, right in the home. And I don't know. I'm begging God to fix this, to change this. How can you allow this to happen? I don't know who to go to because, again, when you don't know what's a problem, you don't think you need to go to anybody.
Okay.
I just know I'm not happy.
So you guys separated. and then you found out that it's kind of hard to do things on your own when you're used to living a certain lifestyle and
Right.
trying to seek help. You weren't able to get the help that you needed.
Right.
So you made a conscious decision to do what?
I made a conscious decision. I don't even know if it was conscious.
Okay.
It was a decision.
All right.
I don't know how conscious it was, Rhonda. I was making decisions to survive.
All right. So your survival decision was to?
It got to a point where my husband just would not financially take care of the children as he promised when I separated from him. And I finally called his bluff. He would always say to me, well, just send my children back, just send my children back, because I left him with the house and the whole lifestyle that we had. And I did. The hardest decision of my life was sending my 2 children. I had 3 children, but my 2 children, 2 of them were with me, Corey and Sharia. And I did. That summer of '96, I sent them back to live with their dad for the summer. That was my plan. And then I would take the children back. But again, that decision did not turn out that way, that I could financially take them back. Because what people don't realize, when women are being abused, be it physically, mentally, psychologically, once she leaves, you leave. You don't. That lifestyle is no longer attached. And then, as a middle class woman that I was, the system attached that lifestyle to me, and
educated.
Educated. I had a degree in marketing, and my husband had a degree in economics. And so the system said, we will not give you any services because your vehicle is worth more than a grant.
Wow.
Yeah. So you don't know these things when people just say, just leave. No. Just leave is not the answer.
I think what a lot of people don't realize is that when a woman makes a conscious decision to leave out of usually a domestic violence or abusive situation, first of all, it takes them about 7 times of leaving and coming back before they really leave. And then when they do decide to leave, each of those times, you're walking away from your job, you're walking away from your bank accounts, you're walking away from your clothing, you're walking away from everything. And so you have to really literally start all over, because you don't have time to, if you're in a dangerous situation, to pack clothes and go.
That's right.
And then you can't go back to your job because he knows where you work. So it's pretty much starting all over. And if you have children, that makes that much more harder.
It makes it 2 times harder. And what people don't realize is that when a woman does make the decision to leave, or has to leave, whichever way she gets to that decision, she's in more danger, because then what we know of today, the stalking begins, and then he may eventually kill her, which happens in a lot of situations, which almost happened in mine, And so when people say she should just leave, a lot of women have left, but they haven't lived to tell their story. And then we offer no accountability on the man's behavior. We put it all on the woman.
And speaking of stories, let's get back to what happened in your situation, because I really want to make sure we have enough time to tell all this, because it was an amazing story to me. Now, so you decide to go back to the house. You let the kids go back with their dad, because that was the best decision to make as a mom, that was best for your kids. Now, you decide to go back and try to help out, but you guys are still separated.
Yes.
But you're going back to the house. So in '96, you go back to the house, and what happens in this situation?
Okay, so by the time I go back, Rhonda, it is September 1996, and we have been separated 10 months now. And I was okay with that we were going to get a divorce. I was quite all right. But what was really important for me was that I wanted us to be good parents. And so since I could not take the kids back, as I thought by the end of the summer, September rolled around, and back home up north, we go to school in September. So I went back to help my husband get the children ready for school. Because Marquise, who was 14, he was going to be a sophomore in high school, and Corey, who was 7, was going to the 2nd grade, I think. And Sharia, she was only 4, so I was going to get her situated in daycare.
4, 7, and 14.
14, right. And so I'm back at the house that Saturday night. He's not too happy I'm there, but, you know, I'm there. And so Sunday morning, preparing for church. He's going to go to the church that we both used to attend, but I'm going to the church that I now was attending. And he wanted to have a family